Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here. And in today's video, I'm going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Wednesday, April the 13th. Once again, got a two-game slate for Wednesday. We got the other two play-in games today. So these are basically the 9 seed versus the 10 seed. This is a do or die. It's a elimination game. If you lose, your season's over. And if you win, then you play the loser of Tuesday's game. So Charlotte, Atlanta, whoever loses that game, or whoever wins that game will play the Cavs, and then whoever loses, their season's over. And then for San Antonio, New Orleans, right now that the Clippers and Timberwolves games at halftime, so we don't actually know who won that game yet. But whoever wins the Spurs Pelicans game will play the loser of Tuesday night's games between the Timberwolves and the Clippers. So very interesting slate here. With it being an elimination game for these teams, I expect very tight rotations. I expect the main guys to get heavy minutes, and we'll kind of talk about that. But as always, guys, we're going to talk through each one of these two games. We're going to break down each team, kind of give my thoughts, what I like, taking a first look at this slate on Tuesday night. And then as we do go through each game, we will build out an early core. We'll talk about 5 players that specifically stand out to me on both Draftkings and on Yahoo. Now, as always, before we get started, hit that like button down below. I do always appreciate the likes, guys. If you're new to the channel and you have not yet, click that subscribe button as well. I do upload these NBA videos daily, and I will be uploading them daily just throughout the playoffs. Like I said, since it's shorter slates every day, max amount of games we're going to have is 4 games in one day. It's very easy to make content when you have shorter slates like this, so I do plan on uploading every single day, uploading on the weekends. I'll still be making PrizePicks videos as well, and for those of you that are new here, PrizePicks is actually the sponsor of this video. You can check them out. Link down below in the description, or just when you sign up for PrizePicks, make sure to use promo code NOAH, and they will match your first deposit up to $100 when you do sign up with my promo code. And PrizePicks a very simple site to use. It's more focused on player props, so you're just picking the over or the under on players' projections, and they pretty much have their entire board posted for Wednesday's games. They have fantasy point projections posted for both games. They have PRA props, points, assists, rebounds, 3-pointers made as well. They might add some more props as we get closer to the time of the games on Wednesday night. So check out their board, see some props you like. As always, I will be sharing a couple of my favorite plays. I'll probably have a video posted later tonight, maybe an hour or two after this video gets posted. I will post my PrizePicks video talking through some of my favorite plays, what stands out to me, looking at these games for Wednesday. But let's go ahead and talk through this slate, talk through both these games. We'll start off with Charlotte and Atlanta. So looking at Charlotte today, like I said, since this is an elimination game, I expect very tight rotations. I expect very heavy minutes for the main guys. And I think LaMelo, Miles Bridges, Terry Rozier, I expect all 3 of these guys to play close to, if not over 40 minutes. LaMelo's minutes have really started to get up there. Obviously, they've been involved in a lot of blowouts lately, but in close games, we've been seeing LaMelo get 35, 36 minutes. And with this being an elimination game, I think we're going to see LaMelo play 38 to 40 minutes here. The price tag's kind of high at $9,700. When you have Trey on the slate at a similar price tag or a little bit more expensive, you have DeJounte Murray as well. Like, I feel better about DeJounte Murray and I feel better about Trey. But LaMelo has the upside, and when he's playing 40 minutes, he can put up 60 DraftKings points. He's got triple-double upside. We know LaMelo can stuff the stat sheet. I think the matchup against Atlanta is pretty good. This should be a fairly fast-paced game. It should stay close as well. So definitely think LaMelo's in play. Miles Bridges I like quite a bit. I think 7,100 is just too cheap for Miles Bridges, especially when you factor in how many minutes he should play here. I think we're going to get 36 to 40 minutes from Miles Bridges. He's been productive when he's been on the floor this season, averaging over a fantasy point per minute. And 7,100, like I said, that's just too cheap, for a guy that's going to play probably close to 40 minutes. So definitely think Miles Bridges is a good play. He really stands out in the mid-range, and I like him quite a bit as one of the the better power forward options on Yahoo. $31 at power forward definitely stands out over there as well. So really like Miles Bridges. Terry Rozier at 6,800, I'm fine going to as well. We saw Rozier for a while. Like, he was playing really poorly. He was very disappointing for like 2 weeks straight. He just wasn't producing. And as of late, these last few games, even in some blowouts, he's been able to produce good numbers. Had 41 DraftKings points in only 26 minutes against Orlando. In a blowout against Chicago, he still put up 32 DK points in only 30 minutes. In a blowout against Washington, he still put up 39 DraftKings points in 32 minutes. So Terry Rozier has been playing a lot better lately. He's another guy that I expect to get very heavy minutes tonight. And 6,800, for a guy that's going to play close to 40 minutes, if not over 40 minutes, is probably a little bit too cheap as well. So really like the big 3 from Charlotte. LaMelo, Bridges, Rozier, I think all stand out. I don't think I would play all 3 in the same lineup because I feel like you are kind of capping your upside a little bit when you do that. But if you want to play one of the 3 or even 2 of the 3, I think that's totally fine. And then outside of the big 3, you have PJ Washington at 5,100. Without Gordon Hayward, he should have a pretty decent role here. I would think he plays about 25 to 30 minutes. 5,100, like, he doesn't stand out as a priority play for me, but, as a last piece, I'm fine plugging him in. I don't have anything really negative to say about PJ Washington. I do kind of question the upside, but he's a solid play. Mason Plumlee at 4K. Mason Plumlee can be productive when he gets minutes. It's just that, like, we never know how many minutes he's going to play. You would think going up against Clint Capella, like, they would want a big out there to match up with Capella. But when these teams have faced this season, like, Plumlee's minutes have not been that high. Again, he's a guy that can be productive when he does get minutes. By some chance, if he does play like 28 minutes, I mean, he can put up 30-plus DraftKings points fairly easily. But I don't feel great about his minutes. I think there is a little bit of risk with Plumlee. Kelly Oubre is someone that I do like as a value option, 3,900. We said it in Tuesday's video, and it's kind of the same for today. Value is going to be really tough to find on these playoff slates just because, there's not going to be guys that get ruled out that open up value. Like, everyone, if someone's healthy, they're going to play, they're going to play pretty much. So it's hard to find value. I think a guy like Kelly Oubre for 3,900 does stand out as a pretty decent value here. He's another guy that his minutes have kind of been all over the place as of late. We saw at the beginning of the season, Kelly Oubre was playing, consistently 25 to 30 minutes. Now it's been like some games he'll play 30, some games he'll play 20, some games he'll play like 15. I think with Charlotte probably tightening up the rotation a little bit here, maybe only running an 8-man rotation, that probably means Kelly Oubre gets at least like 22, 24 minutes. We know Oubre is one of these guys that can get hot from the field. He can put up big scoring games. This game should be played at a fairly fast pace, which I think does set up well for Oubre's skill set. So as a value option with some upside, I'm pretty high on Kelly Oubre. I think he is a decent value play at first look. He does stand out to me on both sides. He's cheap on DraftKings, he's only 3,900, and he's cheap on Yahoo as well. He has minimum salary over there, so definitely like Kelly Oubre as kind of a early value. And like I said, there's really not going to be much value that you can find. Then outside of that, like, I don't know who else is going to get minutes. I expect Charlotte to run a tight rotation. Obviously, the starters will be LaMelo, Rozier, Washington, Bridges, and Plumlee. And then off the bench, I expect Oubre to play. I expect Cody Martin to play. I would think Montrezl Harrell gets minutes. That might be it. Like, do they play McDaniels? I don't know. They might only run an 8-man rotation. I doubt Isaiah Thomas plays. I would think they're probably just going to stagger Rozier and LaMelo. So, should be a tight rotation, probably 8 guys, which makes me feel good about Oubre. Don't know about anyone else, though. Cody Martin is someone that they can use for defensive purposes, and we've seen whenever they play Atlanta, sometimes his minutes get a little high. Like last time they played Atlanta, he played 26 minutes. I think they've played a decent amount this season. Like, he's averaged almost 30 minutes per game against the Hawks. They like his defense out there against Trey. So maybe, Cody Martin gets like 25 minutes. He's not a great point-per-minute player, but again, like, there's not much value on this slate, so I'm fine going to Cody Martin for value. I think outside of Oubre, he's the other bench guy that I do feel good about as a value option, and that's probably it. I don't think I'm going to anyone else on Charlotte. Montrezl Harrell on a 2-game slate, you could consider, because Montrezl Harrell is one of these guys that can be productive when he's out there. It's just that, we've seen Charlotte be fine playing small. They don't necessarily have to play Harrell big minutes. They don't have to play Mason Plumlee big minutes. They'll go small. They'll play PJ Washington at the 5. For 3,500, there's upside there if the minutes are there. It's just that, it's always tough to predict how many minutes Montrezl Harrell's going to play. So that's really all that I'm looking to on Charlotte. Now going ahead and talking about Atlanta. So looking at the top here with Trae Young, I think Trae is a very good pay-up option here. Right now, you have Trae at 10-6. You have DeJounte Murray, who we'll talk about on the other game. He's 10-8. I think for me, DeJounte has a slight upper hand on Trae. I think those guys are kind of 1A and 1B, but Trae against Charlotte here, it's a really good matchup. I think this is a spot that Trae should have plenty of success. I would expect his minutes to be massive. I think he plays probably 40 minutes here if this game stays close, which it should. Nothing negative to say about Trae Young. Obviously, on a 2-game slate, Trae Young is going to stand out as a top play. Clint Capella, though, is someone that I do like quite a bit. I love this matchup for Capella going up against Charlotte. Charlotte just can't defend bigs. We've seen a lot of bigs have really big games against the Hornets. The Hornets allow a lot of points in the paint. They're a bad rebounding team. They give up a lot of points to centers as well. In terms of fantasy points allowed to the center position, I'm pretty sure they're like top of the league in that category too. Surprisingly, Capella has not been dominant in this matchup, but I think it is a really good spot for Clint Capella. 6,900, I think is an appropriate price tag for him. Like, I don't think his ownership's going to get super high. I think if Capella was like 6K today, he'd be really, really popular. I think at this price tag, almost 7K, doesn't get as much ownership. I don't think it'll be super chalky, so I definitely like Capella in tournaments. I just love the matchup. I think this is a spot where Capella could really dominate on the glass, could get a lot of putbacks. We could see, a big double-double from him. He's always a guy that can block shots as well, so feel really good about Capella. He definitely stands out as one of the better center options. Now on Yahoo, Capella will be very popular over there, I would assume. He's only $22, which is just way too cheap. But I'm fine eating that chalk. I think the matchup's just so good. It's a 2-game slate. You're going to have to eat some chalk, and I think Capella on Yahoo is a chalk play that I'm totally fine playing. But then outside of those two guys, Capella and Trae Young, you've got Bogdan coming off the bench who probably plays 25 to 30 minutes. The matchup is good, and this should be a fairly fast-paced game. I think at 5,700, Bogdan doesn't stand out as a priority play today, but we know Bogdan can have good games any night. He can always get hot. He's a guy that can produce when he's out there. He can score, he can rebound, he can get some assists as well. He's playable, but I don't feel great about him at that price tag. Gallo should play around 30 minutes. This matchup obviously is really good for him. At 5,200, I think Gallo's a pretty solid mid-range play. This Atlanta team is kind of appealing just top to bottom. Trae I like, Capella I like. Don't have an issue with Bogdan. I think, Danilo Gallinari's fine. Kevin Huerter's been playing better lately. He's shown a little bit of upside. He's got multiple games over 30 Draftkings points out of his last 4. Again, the matchup should be really good. It's a fast-paced game. Huerter's had a lot of success against Charlotte this season. So I think Kevin Huerter at 4,900, if you're kind of looking for a value option that offers a little bit of upside, I don't mind going to Kevin Huerter. And I think DeAndre Hunter looks like a pretty decent value too. These are guys I normally don't target, especially when the team's fully healthy. But on a 2-game slate, you kind of have to look to some of these Atlanta values. And these guys can give us 28, 30 Draftkings points, which at their salaries is pretty solid. I think Hunter's going to play big minutes here. They're going to want him out there defensively to guard Miles Bridges, to maybe guard Rozier. He's been doing well against Charlotte this season whenever they played. They played 2 games this season, or he's played in 2 games against Charlotte this season. Average of 30 Draftkings points through 2 games. He's played 35 minutes, an average of 35 minutes through those 2. Hunter's a guy that really is going to have a good scoring game to put up a big game because he doesn't do a ton else outside of shoot. But again, the game, it's going to be a fast-paced game. You should see a lot of possessions here. I think at 4,300, Hunter offers the upside to pay off this price tag in what is a really good matchup. So I like DeAndre Hunter as a value option. He's only 4,300 on DraftKings. He's really cheap. He's very cheap on Yahoo, $13 over there. He stands out as a pretty solid play, and that's probably all that I'm going to on Atlanta. I don't think I'm considering anyone else outside of the guys we mentioned, but man, Trae, Capella, Bogdan, Gallo, Hunter, Huerter, I think all those guys are viable. This Atlanta team is very appealing, and I definitely think of the 2 games, this Charlotte-Atlanta game is much more enticing to me. I feel like this is the game that I'll have much more exposure to. But that's pretty much it for this one. Let's go ahead and move on to the next game, San Antonio and New Orleans. So looking at the Spurs here, you got DeJounte Murray at 10,800, who, like I said, I think I give a slight upper hand to when it comes to him versus Trae. I think that'll be a big decision point you have to make on the slate. I haven't really built lineups yet, but maybe you could play DeJounte and Trae together. Is there enough value to make that work? I'm not sure. Like I said, haven't built lineups yet, but DeJounte at 10A is my favorite pay-up option. He's just been so good this year. He's been so productive on a point-per-minute basis, and he should play huge minutes here. We've seen Pop be fine playing DeJounte 38, 40 minutes, and obviously in an elimination game with their season on the line, you got to think DeJounte Murray's playing probably 40 minutes here. We obviously know when he's out there, he's going to stuff the stat sheet. He's got triple-double upside. He does everything when he's on the floor. Matchup against the Pelicans, I think, is fine. He might be guarded by Herb Jones, but I wouldn't be too worried about that. DeJounte is one of these guys that, again, just does everything. I don't really get worried about matchup when it comes to him. He can just produce in any matchup. So really like DeJounte Murray, probably my favorite pay-up option on the slate. Put him a little bit ahead of Trae Young. Then you got Keldon Johnson at 7K. With DeJounte back, I'm not super high on Keldon Johnson. We saw Keldon Johnson have some decent games whenever DeJounte was out. I think Keldon Johnson's role is going to be really good. I think he's going to play big minutes. And, when he's playing 35, 36 minutes, obviously he can put up a good score at 7K. But I think 7K is an appropriate price tag for Johnson. Not a standout play, but definitely viable. Jakob Poeltl going up against Joe Val. I don't love this spot for Poeltl. I worry about foul trouble a little bit. Joe Val's a guy that can draw a lot of fouls. Poeltl's a productive player when he gets minutes, but on this slate, I think I'd give the edge to Clint Capella. So if I'm choosing between Capella or Poeltl, I would prefer Capella. But Poeltl's fine, and no issues going there on a 2-gamer. The rest of San Antonio, I don't think I'm getting to anyone else. Devin Vassell at 6K. feels priced about right, especially now that DeJounte Murray's back. Again, we saw Devin Vassell have some good games whenever DeJounte was out, but now that DeJounte's back, like I don't really want to pay $6K for Devin Vassell. Obviously, Trey Jones is out of play. Josh Richardson at 4,600 feels priced about right for what his role is going to be. Probably plays like 25, 26 minutes. Fine value, but I'd rather go to those Atlanta guys. I'd rather play Hunter. I'd rather play those guys over Josh Richardson. Yeah, like I'm really not seeing much from San Antonio, even though it's a 2-game slate. I'm kind of focused on just, DeJounte, Keldon, Pirtle, and that's probably it. I don't see really anything else that stands out from the Spurs. Not a team I have a ton of interest in outside of the top guys. And then on the other side with the Pelicans, you got CJ McCollum at 9K at the top. Again, like I'm fine with McCollum. I don't think he stands out as a priority play today, especially since he's going to be, splitting up usage with J-Val, with Brandon Ingram. I would rather go to like DeJounte, Trey, LaMelo. I'd rather go to those guys over CJ, but I think CJ's ownership will be fairly low. I think he'll definitely be one of the lower owned pay-up options, I should say. If you want to go to CJ, like it's fine, but he doesn't stand out to me. J-Val, I think, does offer a big ceiling here in what is a really good matchup. We've seen the Spurs definitely struggle to defend some bigs at times this year. We've seen a lot of bigs have huge games against San Antonio. So far this season, these teams have played a lot. They played 4 times. I know Valanciunas has gotten into foul trouble in some of those games, but he has averaged close to 40 DraftKings points per game through 4 games against San Antonio. And some of those games where he was in foul trouble, like this game, he only played 29 minutes, but he still had 43 DraftKings points. In their most recent outing, had 35 DraftKings points in only 21 minutes in another game. So, I think this is a matchup that J-Val can have a lot of success in. The price tag doesn't make him a standout play today, but for tournaments, for the upside that J-Val has, I'm fine getting there. I think, at 8,600, he's playable. I definitely think if you play on Yahoo, like J-Val looks a lot better over there. He's only $27. Him and Capella are by far my 2 favorite center plays on Yahoo, and if you wanted to play Capella and J-Val together, I have no issues with that. I definitely think J-Val looks a lot better on Yahoo, but still in play. I think the matchup is really good for him. Again, Brandon Ingram, like at 8,300, not a standout option. I expect Ingram, J-Val, McCollum, especially McCollum and Ingram, to play really big minutes. So obviously the upside is there, but at their price tags, I just don't think they're standout plays. I'd rather get to all the other studs that we've talked about. And then the rest of the Pelicans, I'm not seeing a ton here. Jackson Hayes at 5K. Really kind of question the upside he has at this salary. I know he had that huge game against the Kings, but Jonas Valanciunas was out that day. With J-Val back, I just don't see a ton of interest in Hayes at 5K. Herb Jones probably plays good minutes here because they're going to want him out there for defensive reasons. He's probably going to guard DeJounte. So you might get a good amount of minutes from Herb Jones. Playing with CJ and Ingram and J-Val, his usage is going to be really low. I don't think he's going to be super productive when he's on the floor, but the minutes will be really good, and he's only 4,500, so as just as a minutes play, I think Herb Jones is a viable, cheap option. But yeah, that's probably it from the Pelicans. Like I said, this game is not nearly as appealing as the first game. I think a lot of my exposure is going to come to that first game. This one I'm not as interested in, but DeJounte, CJ, J-Val, Ingram, Keldon, Pirtle, those guys are in play. I'm not seeing much cheap options though that I'm loving in this game. Herb Jones might be the one value play I consider. Don't think guys like Alvarado or Devontae Graham play enough to be viable. Especially with with it being an elimination game, you're probably going to see heavy minutes for CJ, for Ingram, for J-Val. Herb Jones will probably play heavy minutes. So just don't know if these bench guys are going to play enough to be viable for this slate at least. But that's all that I've got for this 2-gamer, guys. Obviously a little bit of a quicker video, but only 2 games. Still wanted to give you guys, as much information, as much analysis as I could. I hope you did enjoy this video. I hope it did help. If you enjoyed, hit that like button down below. As always, I appreciate the likes. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button as well. And again, go check out the sponsor of the video, Prize Picks. Go sign up for Prize Picks. Use promo code NOAH. When you do, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100 when you do sign up with my promo code. And I'm going to have my Prize Picks video posted probably later tonight. After this video goes live, I'll post my Prize Picks video sharing a couple of my favorite plays for this Wednesday slate. So if you want to sign up for Prize Picks, use my promo code, and then tail the picks I give in that video, you can do that. You can obviously check out their board for yourself, make some picks for yourself. Prize Picks does offer a lot of other sports outside of just NBA. So if you want to see their other boards for other sports, you can do that as well. Make sure to sign up though. Use promo code NOAH. Get your deposit bonus when you do sign up for Prize Picks. But that's all that I got for this Wednesday slate, guys. 2-gamer. Again, these playing games, hopefully they should be, pretty enjoyable. This Minnesota and Clippers game right now is, pretty tight game, tie game, heading into the or a few minutes after halftime. 9 minutes left in the third quarter, tie game. So we should see some good NBA games. Hopefully, these games should be close. They should be competitive. I'm excited to watch these, and I'm excited to, kind of hopefully win some money on this slate. But we'll see how it goes, guys. Wish you the best of luck on the slate. As always, appreciate you watching the video. Hope you enjoyed. We'll see you in the next one.